Good evening, Laura Donnelly here from Dancing with Ease, Body Brain Balance, coming to you to share a little bit about resetting, restarting, realigning, rebalancing, reorienting. This is my cat reorienting because I moved her off the chair so I could sit down. And she's not 100% happy. So she has to reorient to her new space and her new chair. So we all do, all the time, have to reorient ourselves to where we are, what's happening around us, how the world is changing around us. Where I live, there's a lot of pasture land, and sometimes during the year they burn the grass, and it's really beautiful and amazing, and it takes quite a bit of skill to burn it so it stays within the pasture that is being cleared. They keep the what we call here invader cedars from getting a foothold in the pasture. That's the first level of tree, and then from that the deciduous trees grow up. And since this is the Great Plains, actually fires used to happen here all the time, from lightning, from the spark from a campfire or something, just like run through the grass. So when they do this, the air gets all smoky. I mean, nothing I did made this happen, but I can be affected by this. And I might need to reset my system, take care of myself in a different way to manage all of the smoke in the air, which is a situation that people out in the West Coast right now are dealing with. And they particularly have some difficult stuff because of the resin in a lot of the pine trees. So mostly there's a lot of stuff we don't have control over. And it's going to knock us off balance. You know, life is a journey, but it's not, Vic and I were talking yesterday, it's not a straight line. It's not a clear path. Once I read this book about the settling of America, and I've been searching for it since then because it was fascinating. It talked about when people would go from New York City to Philadelphia on the road. And much of the territory was boggy, and they walked. And the road was like a tree log laid down over a stream. A bunch of logs laid down over a marshy path. I mean, it wasn't anything like we consider a road today. It was their road, though, and they got from place to place. But if you've ever driven now from New York City to Philadelphia, and you imagine that old road, that old walking path road, compared to the 6-lane highway, 8-lane highway that's there now, it's pretty amazing. So I think one of the things Vic and I talked about yesterday in the healing path conversation we had was that we get the idea that our path is supposed to be some kind of straight line. I think people get that too. Well, I think you get that idea because you go through school 1, 2, 3, 4 through your grades, right? And so things happen in a fairly orderly sequential manner. And so then we start to think that things in life happen in an orderly sequential manner. And you get older 1 year at a time, right? Here's my pretty cat. She's just not too, she doesn't really like to be picked up. She likes to be in control. Well, who doesn't like to be in control? This is part of the problem. This is partly why we get knocked off balance. Because we have an idea, we're moving on a trajectory, and suddenly there's a hole in the road, or the bridge is out, or in my case, where I live, a train is going by. We have lots of freight trains here. And a lot of times I set myself up so I have exactly enough time to get from point A to point B, provided I can get across the railroad tracks before a train comes. Because if the train comes, you could sit for 2 minutes, just the end of the train. You could sit for 10 or 15 minutes. Every once in a while, they stop the train right across the highway, because the train tracks often go across the highway. Well, not a 4-lane highway, but a 2-lane highway, like regular state highway, which, in my opinion, are much more fun to drive on. You're closer to the ground. The road is lower. You can see all of the livestock animals, the grazing cattle, the people who have horses. Some people have llamas. What are they doing with llamas here? But whatever. You can see all of the crops. It's really beautiful. And there's usually not 15 people trying to go as fast as they can, just pressing on you, except me trying to go in my planned speed for the amount of time I had to get from point A to point B. But every once in a while, they stop the dadgum train because they have to load something, unload something, unhook something, hook something, add an engine. Who knows what it is? You can never really see it from where you are on the highway, because the action is happening on either side of the highway that you're trying to go down. And sometimes they back the train up. Oh, I had to tell you that is frustrating as all get out. But why is it frustrating? Because I had an idea of what was going to happen, and I had a plan. And the world conspired to mess up my plan. Oh, now I could just get all bent out of shape about that. Why is that train here? How come these train tracks are? Well, actually, the train tracks were here before the people were here in the state of Kansas. They built the train tracks. They gave the train companies, the big freight companies, Santa Fe and all of those guys, big tracts of land, and those people went and recruited people to make towns and to homestead and start to farm, so that there would be people to put water in the steam engines, and there would be people to growing produce and crops to put on the trains and ship, and there would be people who needed things that the train companies could bring to the town and sell and everything. So the whole settling of this part of the country was partly done by the railroad tracks. And seriously, on first come, first serve, the trains were here first. My little car and where I want to go, like I'm 150 years late. Or more, maybe 170 or something. But I can fume, I can fuss, I can be frustrated and angry. Or I can look at things from a different point of view. I can first admit that there's not a dadgum thing I can do. Especially, now sometimes I have been in this situation and people start driving east or west. And so they may know which direction the train is going, because sometimes if the train is going east and you drive west, you can get to another road and go around and get around the back of the train. Sometimes you drive all the way over there and the back of the train is over there. So now you either come back and you're in a different place in line for when the train is actually gone and you get to go, or you sit there and you come back around. So that's one choice. The choice to do something, anything, instead of pause. And in many ways, we are geared to do that. And sometimes action is the best step. Absolutely, sometimes action is what you need to do. But in a situation where my momentum has been interrupted by something beyond my control, and that can happen, like we can have an event planned and we can get sick. And like one time I had an audition and I really wanted to be there. So it might not have been an audition. I bet it wasn't an audition. It wasn't for me. It was for a piece I was doing. I think it was a showing of work to set the order for the program. And I wanted to be there because a lot of times when you're doing choreography, what comes before and what comes after really changes how the audience perceives your work. So there's a flow to the concert. But some people are gifted at making the flow for the concert, and other people are clueless. And I have had several times where my piece was put in a place that absolutely did not set it up to be seen well. The music that came before was too different from the music from my piece, or the quality of the movement before and the dance before was too abrupt a shift. So one time I was in a situation I could ask for things, and pretty much people felt bad and guilty, and so they gave me anything I asked for at that time. And I said I wanted all of my work in one half of the concert, and I didn't care if it was the first half or the last half, but I wanted all of my work so that I could put my pieces in an order that showed each piece and each dancer to the greatest advantage. And that was really nice to have that opportunity. But before, there was nothing I could do. Now, sometimes I thought, like, if I went to the showing, I could have an influence. But man, I ate something. Okay, this is the last time. Okay, it was 6 years ago, six or 7 years ago, 7 or 8 years ago. I ate at the campus cafeteria. I ate at Taco Bell. I got a salad. You know, trying to be healthy. I got a salad. I got bad news. And there was just nothing I could do, except let that all come out. But there was no way I was going to that showing. There's no way I could be there for 2 hours without running to the bathroom for 3 or 4 times. I probably couldn't even get there in my car without running my car. So things happen. The train happens. Sickness happens. Somebody else's sickness might happen. Oh, a flat tire sometimes happens. Once I ran out of gas. Once in my entire life, I ran out of gas. And I did it a couple of years ago. That was really poor planning. Poor planning on my part. But, I could have been furious. I could have thrown a fit. Or I got out my notebook and I wrote a blog post because I was like, well, I got this time. I got to wait for this guy to show up and bring me a gallon of gasoline, and I might as well use my time. It was a beautiful fall day, not too hot, not too cold, so I could hang out outside. And I had kind of a fun time, actually, after I kind of got over, I had to get over being mad at myself. So this is the truth. We have to get over these things. We have to reset because we're on a trajectory, and when somebody interrupts that, if you're like me, angry. My plan has been interfered with. Then I have to pause. I mean, sometimes I pause and then I push on through. Sometimes I pause and I think, well, what is the universe trying to tell me? What could happen? What could happen in this space of time that wouldn't happen if everything went the way I planned it in my head? And then I open up to possibility. And I see what's going on. And I also see how the frustration affects my body, how it affects my overall health, how it affects my stress hormone levels. Okay, how do I know if it affects my stress hormone levels? Like, I don't, but if I'm stressed, I don't breathe very well. If I don't breathe very well, my whole body doesn't get as much oxygen as it needs. If I get really stressed, my voice gets really thin and kind of, and if I need to call somebody and ask them to send a tow truck or a guy with a gallon of gasoline for my roadside assistance, I don't sound very good. If I pause and I come back to myself, I recalibrate my energy, I realign myself, I look at my desired outcome, and I figure out how to achieve that goal in a different way because the way I plan to achieve that goal has been interrupted. Do all that, then my voice is a little softer. I talk to the person. They say I can get somebody to you as, in this amount of time, and they give me the person's cell number so I can text them and stay in touch. And the whole thing goes a little bit more smoothly than it was lined up to go. So I think we all get off balance. I think we all get knocked off balance, or we have a reaction to a situation that's beyond our control that throws us off balance. Now, the situation can knock us off balance, and we can push ourselves further off balance. Like if when I was sick and I wanted to go to that showing, if I had pushed myself to go, I might have actually made myself really sick. And instead of just getting over food poisoning, I might have given myself dehydration and all kinds of other things. I could have compounded the situation by forcing it to be a different way. So we have these choices, and with our choices is where we really have power. And so choosing how we're going to reset ourselves is some power. So if this is helpful or useful or interesting, and you would like to know more about it, I'm going to put a link in the comments because my computer was not working very well before this. And in the comments will be a link for something I call Rock Your Reset. And it's a way to get a system in place so whenever you get knocked off, you can reset yourself quickly and easily. So if that sounds good to you, just click that link when I get it there and we'll talk. What else? Yes, today was 170 because I called yesterday 169, even though it was a healing path. And tomorrow will be 171. Oh my heavens. So take good care of yourselves, have fun, and I'll see you soon.